Gang, what's up? Aaron here, Canadian Looney. Going to take a look at a few quick videos here. We've got Senator Leo Housakos, one of the more entertaining senators. He's questioning our energy minister, Tim Hodgson, who doesn't seem to have a click or a clue. Let's take a peek.
Hey, that's something everyone can enjoy.
Minister, in September, more than 90 leaders from Canada's energy sector, including those from Suncor, Enbridge, TC Energy, and CNRL, wrote to the Prime Minister Carney, for the third time, calling for 5 clear changes. Number 1, streamline regulations. Number 2, speed up project approvals, repeal anti-development laws, remove the oil and gas emissions cap, and promote Indigenous investment. These leaders, who represent millions of jobs and billions in economic benefits, said that they share the vision of a Canadian energy superpower. 6 months later, nothing has changed in any of these conditions. Why has your government has not implemented the changes that the industry has requested?
Monsieur le Ministre.
Respectfully, Mr. Senator, I think it's interesting that Premier Smith, who tends to be a pretty harsh critic, said she's never been as optimistic about the prospects for Canada, and she is very constructive on working with this government. So I think we seem to be doing a reasonably good job on that front.
Senator Housakos.
Again, Minister, I'll repeat. Can you tell me which one of these 5 conditions you've ticked off? Streamlining regulations, speed up project approvals, repeal anti-development laws, remove the oil and gas emissions cap, and promote Indigenous investment. Has any one of these happened? So this letter wasn't one of opposition, Minister. It was an offer of national collaboration with the government, signed by those who create this country's wealth and want to work with your government. Why did you ignore these leaders, Minister? Was Mark Carney's promise to make Canada an energy superpower merely a campaign talking point? And I say that from someone who's been in politics for a long time. We need to deliver in order to maintain credibility with the Canadian electorate.
Mr. Ministre.
So, Mr. Senator, I've been in business a long time, and I've been building things for a long time. And this government is making it easier and more effective to build. As the Prime Minister has said, it's not about if, it is how. We passed Bill C-5, the Building Canada Act, with the support of the opposition. And there are 5 criteria laid out in there that we are working towards. We've already announced the first set of projects. The second set of projects will be announced by Grey Cup Day. The third set will be announced by Stanley Cup Day, and then we'll have another set by World Cup Day.
Oh, yeah. A little bit of committee action coming up. We've got Stephanie Kusie asking questions. Are we ever going to see any of our $64 million that was wasted on the ArriveCan scam app? We're going to find out. Where do these Liberals get their witnesses? Oh, my goodness.
In June, the House of Commons passed a Conservative motion calling on the government to recoup the $64 million wasted in the ArriveCan scandal from GC Strategies. Ms. Reza, as Deputy Minister, did you have any input on the government's decision to enforce this House of Commons motion?
No, I didn't have any input. We have, as you know, been very involved in terms of trying to recover money and working with CBSA in terms of identifying elements that can be recovered, as well as the RCMP.
The government has announced that they are only seeking $198,000 in damages out of the $64 million. Why is the government only seeking to recover 0.03% of the funds from ArriveCan?
I can start that question, and maybe I'll turn to Madame Poulin to give us more information. We look at every procurement, every dollar spent in terms of, is there abuse, fraud, and when we do find that in terms of overbilling, we go after the suppliers to seek that recovery from either themselves or through their supply chain. And in this case, that is, I think, on the GC strategy side. Mais peut-être tu peux rajouter quelque chose?
Would you like to add something, though, perhaps?
It's important to note that the amount that we're trying to recover from GC strategy, it's not linked in any ways to the ArriveCan. So it's an amount that it was overbilled prior to the ArriveCan, and GC Strategies was one of the prime contractors using our resources that overbilled the federal government. So the amount that you mentioned is the amount we're trying to recover because they haven't accepted to repay the amount when we ask them.
They haven't accepted. Certainly they had contracts beyond ArriveCan, so I would expect that the amount would actually be greater than that we would seek to recoup, never mind just the funds from ArriveCan, but only 0.03%, $198,000. That's really a small amount compared to the total value of the contract for GC Strategies within that contract and even GC Strategies beyond that contract. Of the $198,000, Ms. Reza, how much has the government recouped to date, please?
To turn, and I'll just make the distinction that the $198,000 is from overbilling that is not associated with the CVSA strategies. And do you have that figure? Otherwise, we can come back to you.
No, thank you for the question. So just to put the question in context, the amount that we're trying to recover is tied to the 3 overbilling cases that were announced back in March 2024. And I'm pleased to announce that over the $4.5 million that we announced at that time, we have recovered $4.1 million. So the almost only amount left to be collected is the amount tied to GC Strategy. And if we're looking at the legal cases that have been put forward in the Ontario court, we're seeking $400,000 because there's some damage that will be added to the amount that GC Strategy owns to the federal government. So it's a big success because on those 3 cases, we almost recover more than 80% of the amount that were overbilled.
Okay, but you're not certain as to the $198,000, if any. You don't have that number with you as to if any of that $198,000 has been collected.
Again, we have put a statement of claim into the Court of Ontario because we were unable to recover that amount. That's why we're turning to the justice system in order to recover those funds from a legal procedure. So on a signifié le statement of claim à GC Strategy, puis on va être en procédure dans les prochains mois.
Okay, well, passed in the House was specific to the ArriveCan scandal and the $64 million. So it's my hope that the $198,000 would be recovered and that we could report on that as a later date as being recovered. Ms. Reza, in previous testimony to public accounts on this topic, you've stated, as far as recovery efforts are concerned, we've made the commitment to the minister to look at how we can recover the funds that were spent on this contract. Was the recommendation provided to the minister to recover the funds at an amount greater than $198,000?
That question is to be really examined by CVSA. CVSA is the authority whose budget it came from, and we've been working with them to look at some of the accounting around it to see what has been recovered, overbilled, so that work is underway. Je sais pas si tu as quelque chose à rajouter.
I'm not sure if you'd like to add something.
That we're dealing with McKinsey, not GC Strategies, in this report.
Ms. Yip, thank you. That's a point you can make, but as you know, I give members wide latitude here to raise questions when witnesses are before us. If witnesses aren't quite ready to answer, they can say so, and information can be sought later. Ms. Kusie, you have about a minute left.
Thank you, Chair. I believe the title of the study is Professional Service Contracts, and certainly GC Strategies would fall under professional services. Does PSPC, truly believe, after all of the waste, corruption, shady contracting, poor record keeping, subcontracting of basic tasks, and more, that the Canadian taxpayer should recover below 0.5% of the money that was wasted?
Again, and I think you're well aware, the issue is that the $198,000 is associated with overbilling that is not CVSA related. In terms of CVSA contracts with GC Strategies directly, they are best placed to look at what they are going to be able to recover. We can certainly talk about the efforts that we're making in terms of managing additional oversight on the spend of professional services across the government.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Next, we have Michelle Rempel-Garner, one of our favorites to watch here. She's always interesting in committee, trying to find out how much money are these Liberals wasting. It's a lot. Where do they get these witnesses?
Conestoga College took in 84,000 international students in 4 years. In 2023, they took in more than the U of T, UBC, and UCalgary combined. And this had an incredibly negative impact on the cost of housing, availability of healthcare services, and created a youth jobs crisis in the region. But yet, Conestoga College's operating surplus went from $3 million in 2015 to $252 million in 2024. Dr. Tibbetts, in 2024, in an article in Guelph Today, you were quoted as saying, some of them, international students, live like that, 14 to a house in slumlord housing, because they don't want to pay more than $400. You are still requesting record number of foreign students permits. Is that correct? You are on mute.
Monsieur Tibbet, vous êtes sur Zine.
Mr. Tibbet, you are on mute.
No, we've always worked with both the federal government, provincial government, and the local communities. That's why we took in that many students. I mean, we could find places for all those students. This is a massive area. We're not just in Kitchener, Waterloo, and Guelph. We're across
but
Brantford, Milton.
Madame Rempel-Garner.
But the cost of a one-bedroom rent in your region went up by 35%, over $500 in a very short period of time. Did the federal government ever ask you to tie your requests for foreign student permits to housing costs and availability in your broader region?
No.
No. Do you think you'd be able to have juiced foreign student permits to the levels that you did if the federal government had tied the number of foreign student permits they issued to your institution to housing availability and cost?
Well, it's more than the federal government. We were encouraged to grow in downtown Kitchener. We added 3,500 students there because we helped the city revitalize downtown, the same in Guelph and the same in Brantford and Milton. I mean, there was a huge demand. There was huge, I think in the fall of 22 in Ontario, there were 323,000 job vacancies, and we were asked to try to help solve that problem.
Thank you. So we just heard testimony that we should be decoupling foreign student permits from jobs. And now there is a substantive youth jobs crisis both in Canada but also in your broader region. Do you think, did the federal government ever ask you to link permit availability to job availability in the region?
Well, that's what we did. We did link the two. In fact, if you look at...
But recently?
I'm not aware that they did that, no, but we did it. That's what we did. In fact, our job placement rate for international students was 86% after 6 months after graduation.
Did the federal government ever ask you to take any responsibility for asylum claims, fraudulent asylum claims being made by foreign students who were issued permits to your institution?
Well, there was one statement made by Minister Miller, but as far as I'm concerned, that's Canadian Border Services. We are not. The first time we've ever heard anything about asylum seekers when Mr. Miller spoke to that.
Would you have not been able to juice foreign student permit numbers to the levels that you did if your institution had a financial liability tied to asylum claims or visa overstays made by foreign students at your institution?
Well, we were never involved in this from day one. We got involved in international enrollment back in the 90s. There was no money to be made. We didn't try to make money. We were just trying to meet skill shortage needs. That's all we're doing.
I'm just making a note for the analysts because I think that's a recommendation that probably needs to be made after what happened at your institution. It was pretty bad. I noted that the Waterloo Regional Health Authority, they're now charging for non-residents to have births at their hospitals. If the number of foreign student permits issued to your university or your institution had been tied to healthcare levels or healthcare support, would you have been able to access or juice student permits to the levels that you did?
We had our own healthcare center at the college. We invested in healthcare for the students. They could come, but we don't handle pregnancies at the college. But we had a full health center at the college. including mental health services.
I mean, I got to say, it's kind of a mess, hey? I mean, you were quoted as saying in the Sioux College President David Orazietti, some pretty wild things. You called him a whore. Yet I note that your salary is it's over $600,000. You are now the highest paid college university president in the province. We've heard some pretty bad things about foreign students at your college. How do you reconcile those comments you made about another university president with your present salary and the mess that the region now finds itself in due to your decisions to juice foreign student permits to that level?
Well, first of all, the region is not in a mess. And secondly, I did apologize about that matter. That was a mistake.
Okay. There's been a lot of polling that has said that Canada's immigration consensus is broken. Do you take any responsibility for that, given that you juiced foreign student permits to a level where healthcare, housing, and jobs clearly didn't have the capacity in your region?
Une courte réponse, s'il vous plaît, Monsieur Tibbetts. Vous avez 10 secondes.
A short answer, Mr. Tibbetts. You have 10 seconds.
Well, first of all our students found housing, and they weren't all living in. No, they did. They found.
Okay,
housing.
merci pour.
As a European, I am a European actually.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, Irish citizen. Yeah. So there you
welcome.
go.
Welcome.
Speaking as a European.
WTF.
Here, here. How many kids did you molest with Jeffrey Epstein?
More than just elbows.
And as the most European of the non-European countries.
Being aware of what potential conflicts of interest you sought
What
to
possible
avoid.
conflict would you have, Stephanie? Stephanie, I'm complying with the rules. I'm complying with the rules in advance.
These are Muslim values. These are Canadian values.
Hi, everyone. Congratulations, you're spending more money on taxes than on food, clothing, and shelter combined.
Hey, that's something everyone can enjoy.
All right, gang, thank you all very much for watching. Aaron, Canadian Looney, like, share, subscribe. Smash that subscribe. We're trying to grow this thing. Canadian Federal Politics. Get yours right here. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video.